In the last two classes, we've been talking about trend line bounce. That means when the price is obeying the trend line that you have drawn, that's what we call trend line bounce. There are two ways to trade trend line. We've been talking about the first type, which is the trend line bounce, and at the other part of this video, we'll be talking about the other way of using trend line. So we have trend line bounce there, and I want to show you a couple examples to buttress the point that we have been laying for the past two lessons. Okay, so you can see on my screen now, you can see trend line. You can see trend line and up trend line. I told you in the theoretical part of it that when you identify two obvious troughs, this is a trough, this is another trough. When you join this line to this line, when you join the two troughs together and you're extending into the future, you wait for the price to touch the same trend line in the future and watch if it's going to obey it or break through it. So you can see my point one, which is my trough one, then my trough two. Then in the future, you can literally place a buy here, and then the market moves in your favor, and you can make massive profits on this one now. For example, if you see this candle now, the green candle that is showing bullish momentum, if you enter at that time, at that point, you have this is about 1,409 pips, because this is actually 4 hour time frame. This is 4 hour time, so you can enter a buy here, enter another buy here, enter another buy here, or depending on how you actually plan it. So this is trend line bounce strategy, or we call it trend line trading strategy. Trend line trading strategy. So I have another example here now. You have my point one, then you have my point two, and in the future, the third time in the future, I see that the price actually is bouncing from the trend line, and it's continuing an upward movement. So the moment I see this green candle, I enter my buy and the price moves in my favor. So let me show you more examples. You can also see in this place, you can see here the price actually drawing two obvious troughs. This is point one, then point two, and then at the third time in the future, you can see price is already respecting my upward trend lines, and then at the third touch like this, you're expected to place your buy and the price moves in your favor. And then you come again, you see another option here. You see another option in this place. You see trend line, upward trend line. You have my point one. Okay, you have my point one here, and then you have your point two. Now at the third touch, you can see that a green candle is already formed. At the end of that formation, the very candle is forming, there are some reversal candlesticks that you're going to be looking for at these zones. I'm going to be showing you in the next couple of teachings or lessons. So you see here now, you take your buy. You see here, you take your buy, and this is like in an uptrend line now. You can see that I'm using green color so that I can see that the price is moving to the upside, and the green candle is to the upside. So you see my point one, point two, and then you see the third touch. Now you see a bullish engulfing candle is formed here, and then you enter, and then you make massive profit in that place. So it's very, 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 very interesting. It's a very interesting thing, honestly. Very interesting. So let me show you other examples, which this time around is a bearish movement. This is GBP USD, where you are looking for a downward movement. You can see my point one, then you see my point two, then you see that at the third touch of the trend line, you can see that price in the price is obeying the trend line. Price is bouncing back from the trend line. This is bearish movement now. At the close of this candle, this is 1 hour time frame. You enter your sell, and you can see how price moves massively downward to the downside. And as you follow the trend, you cash money, you put cash money into your pocket. Okay, so let's see another much more examples. You can see here now, this is my point one. Then you can see the touch of point two. At the third touch, you can see rejection of the downward trend line. Here now, the moment I see this rejection now, as an aggressive trader, you enter immediately, you see a rejection. But as a conservative trader, you'll be waiting for much more much more much more confirmation. Okay, maybe you switch to the lower time frame, then you now see a bearish engulfing candle, then it take you to enter. And the other thing I'm going to be showing you now, but the only essence of this class is show you the power of trend line, both in upward trend line and downward trend line. You can see another example here. I have my point 1 and I've got my point 2. At the third touch of the third point, you can see the price moves great deal in the downward direction. That is the power of using trend line. That is the power of using trend line. Trend line is very powerful. And so this is another example here. You have my point 1, and you have my point 2 here. You have my point 2 here. You have my point 2 here. Then you have the third touch of trend line at the close of this shooting star candle. This is called, we call this candle shooting star. At the close of this shooting star candle, because sometimes what you need for here is that at the reversal candlesticks, I'm going to be teaching you a couple of them later in the course of this training. So we have this shooting star, which is very powerful. Look at the previous one. Which candle are we seeing in the previous one? Because sometimes you need to take note of the candle. Here now I'm seeing a shooting star here too. I'm seeing a shooting star here too. Here I'm seeing an hanging man. If I change this one to lower time frame, it should give me a better reversal candlestick. But here I can see an hanging man here, or an evening star. An evening star. I can see an evening star at this junction now. So you see all this I will teach you reversal candle you'll be looking for at your area of interest. You call this area of interest, you call it dawn zones. The dawn zone. Don't worry, I'm going to be teaching you all of that in the future. But what I'm trying to show you tonight is how to draw this trend line appropriately, and how you can see it working like magic. See it working like a magic. So I've got my okay, this is when I was talking about the shooting star here. At the close of the shooting star, I placed my entry a peep, 1 or 2 peeps lower than here. Just my penny order, I will place it there, and then I put my stop loss below the last swing, and then and look at how many pips this is. Look at how many pip this is. This is about the price moved 91 pips. So I can also see here now, you can see my point 1, point 2. Then you have at the third of the trend line here, I'm seeing a doji candle formed here. I'm seeing a doji candle formed here. And then at the formation of the doji candle, sometimes as an aggressive trader you enter immediately, but as a conservative trader you want to wait for more confirmation. More confirmation is this bearish engulfing candle that has engulf the previous doji candle that was formed. Then I take my sell, and then and of course my take profit will be here, and then I will have moved a great while. I've made certain profits. How many pips is that? I'll be having 46 pips. 46 pips is remarkable. So that is that about drawing an upward trend line and then a downward trend line. You can see how powerful they are. All you need is two obvious peaks or troughs. Obvious troughs for upward movement, obvious peaks for downward movement, and then you draw your line and wait for it in the future. What if price is going to obey it? And then if price obeys it, you cash out. And then if it doesn't obey it, then you watch for another opportunity. But then the next thing I'm going to be talking about is when the price is not obeying your trend line, when it does not obey your trend line. So we call that one trend line breakout. As you can see on my screen, trend line breakout is also a very powerful strategy. In fact, I use trend line breakout much more than I use trend line bounce. It's a very powerful trading strategy. Yesterday and 2 days ago, I was showing you the trade that we took on gold, and then it was a combination of both trend line and trend line breakout. Very amazing setup. Yesterday I entered gold 3 times and I won 3 times. I entered number one in the London session. I made profit. I entered another one around 11 a.m. before New York session. I made profit. Then 3:45 p.m. to catch up with the news yesterday, and I entered again. Everything in profit. And I can tell you, all I was just using is trend line breakout and trend line breakout and trend line breakout. So why trend line breakout is the potential signal for trend reversal. Sometimes when the trend want to reverse, it's usually breaking the trend line. Currently, I'm taking a trade now. Today is Saturday, but I'm trading volatility 25. I'm currently taking that trade now, and 75 and 25, 75 and 25, and I'm using trend line breakout as a strategy that I'm using to take that trade now. 25, 25, both of them. That was the first one I took. Is in profit at the moment, and V25 is just entering profit by the time I wanted to start recording this video. So now trendline breakout. Why trendline breakout? Is the potential signal for trend reversal. The potential signal for trend reversal. When trend line is broken, it's a signal that is as if the trend wants to reverse. It wants to go in the opposite direction. And number two, it signals that the start of a new massive price movement. Many times when trend line gets broken, for example, my V25 trade now, there was a massive breakout of a trend line, and I say, oh, I just saw it just before I started recording this video now. I just saw it and entered the trade. Now, before I could say 1, 2, 3, it's already in profit. So it signals the start of a new massive price movement. So therefore, trend line breakout strategy worth giving attention to. TLBS. I call it TLBS, trend line breakout strategy worth giving attention to. And I guarantee you this strategy will make you more money almost more than any other strategy, or in confluence with other strategies that you're going to be learning. Okay. So because many times the beauty of the skill of a professional trader is in confluence, is when you have many parameters that are pointing at the same direction. It's able to sieve off errors and it's able to strengthen your confidence in your trade. Okay, so trend line is one of the tools that you must never forget, and trend line breakout at this moment. So trend line strategy TLS and trend line breakout strategy TLBS. Trend line strategy and trend line breakout strategy both have tendency of giving you early entries and plenty pips in your favor, even up to 1,000 pips. You can see that all the example I was giving to you, we are actually entering at the exact point, at the exact point, at the beginning of an impulsive moment. We're entering it is giving us an entry, very early entry. This is no indicator, this is not cross, moving average. As at that time, moving average is still getting confused. It does not receive enough signal to show you that direction. As at that time, your indicator, your stochastic, your RSI, they are not giving you, they're not giving you signal yet because you are still waiting. But see, trend line give you a very early entry and make you to catch a lot of pips right from the very beginning. When you combine trend line strategy and trend line breakout strategies together, they will work like magic. They are complementary to each other. I did that to you in your presence yesterday when I was teaching you, when I was showing you how we enter gold signals yesterday. You see that the trend line and trend line breakout were actually working together. You're working together. While the trend line was guiding me that the trend is still on the upside, the trend line breakout is teaching me where exactly I need to enter to, so that I can buy low, so that I can buy when the price is low. So now they are complementary to each other. Trend line strategy is a trading system based on the obedience of trend line, while the opposite is the trend line breakout when the price break through the trend line, when the price break through the trend line. So there are four setups to look for in trend line breakout strategy. Four setups. There are four setups you're going to be looking for. And I want to introduce you to all of them. I want to introduce you to the four now in the next slide. So pay attention. Now you can see it on my board right now. So we have the immediate breakout setup. So when you draw your trend line, you draw your point 1.2, and all of a sudden, bam, the trend line breaks out. It breaks out, and then immediately it breaks out, you enter your entry. You take your trade immediately. So it's called immediate breakout. Now the first one here is a sell setup where you draw an upward trend line. It's supposed to bounce so that you can buy, but now it's not bouncing. It's breaking the trend line, and immediately it breaks the trend line. You enter your sell, and then you are able to catch the trend from the beginning. Look at the second one on my right. We have the breakout and retest, the breakout pullback retracement setup. This is also for a sell. You have drawn an upward trend line, and trend line is broken, and then all of a sudden price reverses to come and retest. It retraces back to the upward trend line to retest it, and then eventually moves in the downward direction. Look at the third one. This is the downward trend line breakout. This is the immediate breakout also, but this time around we are buying. There's a downward trend line here that is selling. You can see it's selling. The market is selling, and all of a sudden, you draw a trend line, and then when the price got to your trend line, it breaks out. So immediate breakout. As soon as it breaks out and you see a bullish candle form, what do? You enter your buy straight, and you put your candle below the last swing, and then the price moves in the upward direction. And then we have the opposite case now, opposite scenario, when we see that you draw a trend line and then the price breaks out, and before it moves so much away from the trend line, from the downward trend line, the price comes back to the trend line, and retest it, and then it now continue in the upward direction. So this is a 4 setup that you're going to be looking for. And quickly, let me give you an assignment here. You will give me these 4 examples. You will give me 4 example of each. 4 example of immediate breakouts, and then for example, immediate breakout in the said direction and immediate breakout and retest in the said direction. For example, of immediate breakouts in the buy direction and then breakout and retest in the buy direction. Now let me show you a couple of examples from my own hand here. You can see my point 1 and point 2, and at the third touch of the trend line, you can see that price did not obey the trend line. Price breaks out. It breaks out and count 3 candles, 1, 2, 3, and then it comes back to retest it. This is breakout and retest. Price actually came out to retest the trend line and go in the upward direction. This is breakout and retest. And which example is that one? In the upward direction. This is example 3. Breakout and retest in the upward direction. Look at another example here. This one is immediate breakout to the sell direction. Immediately, you do an upward trend line, point 1, point 2, and instead of price to obey, to bounce back at that trend line, it breaks out. As soon as it breaks out, you make your sell. You sell immediately. You sell from here, and then you can see price is still moving downward and downward and downward. Which example is this one? This is immediate breakouts. The first example, immediate breakout, the setup one. Then let's move further. I'm going to show you another example right now. So you see point 1, point 2, and then on this trend line now, instead of price to obey the trend line and bounce to the downside, price has decided to break the trend line to the up direction, and then look at this one now. Breakout and retest. Breakout and retest. Price broke the trend line and came to retest. This is even good on 1 hour. Price broke out this trend line and came to retest the trend line before continuing in the upward direction. So this is a breakout and retest, of the buy direction. You can see it here now. So let's move further. Let's move further here. Here we can see the price. We have my point 1, point 2, and at the third touch here, instead of price to obey the trend line, price has decided to break it out. So there's a breakout. Then it came to retest that trend line again before continuing in the downward direction. Very, very important. Very, very important. This is the complementary strategy of trendline breakout. So we have trendline bounce, that TLS, trendline strategy, and then we have the TLBS, trendline breakout strategy. And then look at my next slide. So pay attention. Note, pay attention to significant trendline breakout market moves. Pay attention to significant trend line because market moves far and fast when significant trend line is broken. What do we mean with significant trend line? The significant trend lines are the ones drawn from significant peaks and troughs found on H1, H4, daily time frame and upwards. So you see, when you draw a trend line on significant trend lines, when you join two significant troughs or peaks on 1 hour time frame, and then price breaks, when price breaks out from those from the trend line, it usually move very fast away from it. So the more So now, the more times the trend line is obeyed, the stronger it is, and the market moves fast when it is broken. What does that mean? You have a trend line that has been obeyed. It has been obeyed. You have point 1, point 2, then the third point is obeyed, the fourth point is obeyed. When such trend line breaks, price usually move very fast away from it. Very fast away from it. Price usually move very fast away from it. And that's what I want you to pay attention to. So when you see trend line has been obeyed several times, watch out when it breaks, because when the price breaks it, usually in most cases, it moves very fast away from it. So if you have been buying at the bands of the trend line, you have been buying at the bands of the trend line, immediately it breaks, you should also make a sell if it's an upward trend line. Then if you have been selling and then the point 1, point 2, point 3 respected bounce back, you are selling point, then you have the point 4 respected, they are selling. Then if at the point 5 price is not breaking it and the price is not bouncing on it, it's not respecting it, then it's breaking out from it, you better buy it, because price will move very far and fast away from the trend line Why? Because it has been respected long enough, and when it breaks, it usually the price usually move very fast away from it. Note, gentle trend line are more reliable than steeper trend lines when it comes to trend line bounce. So when you're doing your trend line bounce, your trend line strategy, and then price, and you can see that the trend line is very steep. It's very steep. Price does not will not be able to sustain it. If you enter at the bounce or the third bounce of a steep trend line, what we're trying to tell you is that don't stay too long on it. You close your trade as fast as possible. Then we have the steeper the trend line, the more unreliable it may be because price may not be able to sustain the steepness. I usually like this in trendline breakouts because when the trendline is very steep, it will not take much time before it breaks. It will break, no doubt. It will soon break. It will not be respecting it all along, all along, all along. It will soon break when it's very, very steep. So this is what in the next classes I'm going to be showing you. I'm going to be taking you deeper into trendline breakout strategy, how and where exactly you're going to take your entry, where you're going to put your stop loss, and where you'll be targeting for your take profit. That's what I'm going to be showing you in the next class. So for now, watch this. If you have questions, drop it on the WhatsApp